First, JT, let's talk about how the Station Inn got started and when it got started.
Okay, the Station Inn started up in 1974, and it was actually started by some local musicians at the time who, there was a couple of bluegrass clubs in town at that time, but they had what they call a house band playing all the time, and pickers never really had a chance to go in and sit in or anything like that. So, and there was a lot of musicians around. They had no place to go and jam, so they decided to give it a shot and open up, and they were basically the house band themselves, but the stage was always open to pickers to come in and play, and anybody came into town, you know, new pickers and this and that, that's where they went and everything, and it just sort of started with that and continued on. It's changed a little bit. Now we have our Sunday night jam, which that's where everybody gets together and jam, but all the rest of the week we have a regular band now. So
at the beginning it was just the jam.
Well, at the beginning we had a house band, so to speak, or the people that owned it were the house band.
I got you.
And
now, were you involved back then?
No. It was started at a different location.
Okay.
And here in Nashville, and then 1978 it moved to this location where it's at now, and had gone through a couple of different owners at that time, and then I bought it in 1981. So
okay.
I've had it the longest and the hardest.
So when did it adopt the format that you have now, where you have most nights of the week as a band playing and then the jam on Sunday?
Well, like I say, I bought it in 1981, and we had basically the same setup. You know, of course, we were only open 3 nights a week then, but then in 1982, I think the Bluegrass Cardinals were coming through town, going to some festival or something somewhere, and Lance Leroy was booking them, and he asked if we could bring them in one night and see how it'd go to have a so-called name band in, you know, for the club, and we actually booked them in, and the place was sold out, and from that we just started going to having some different bands in like that. People wanted to see more of that, and they didn't have a chance in Nashville because there was no festivals or anything like that around. You had to go to a 300-mile to even hear any music or anything like that. You know? And as far as a festival is concerned, you know. And,
now, back at the very beginning, when it was just these pickers that were looking for a place to jam, were you involved at that point in time?
Well, I was in town. Actually, I was performing myself at another club at that time.
Oh, I got you.
With a band, and but the Station Inn was the place where we all
kind of
wound up, at the end of the night, so to speak, and then on the weekends and everything. So it was, I've been there basically been here all the time. Station Inn's been going, just wasn't involved with it.
And back in the 80s, you were just open 3 nights a week?
Well, the 80s, when we started having the different bands like that, then we started moving more nights in to get those bands when they were coming through town, like during the week, you know. And so it worked out, and over the years, it just gradually worked up to now we're open every night and still don't have enough nights for all the bands to get in that want to play here.
Right.
Which is a great thing.
Yeah.
We love it, and just about everybody that's in the bluegrass field has performed here at some time or other now over the years.
Can you tell me about some of the highlights that you remember of certain special events or bands that have played here over the years? I'm sure there's a lot of them, but can you point to any?
Yeah, I guess one of the so-called highlights wasn't a highlight. It was sort of one night we had a full house with, I think it was Nancy and Norman Blake at that time or something like that. And about the middle of the night, they came down the street with a house, moving the house. So we had to get everybody out and move their cars off the street for them to get the house down the street.
In the middle of the show?
In the middle of the show. So, I don't know that was a highlight, but it was one
of the memorable experiences.
Yeah, one of the more memorable things. And of course, I guess some of the highlights, we've had a lot of them, but the biggest highlight I think of all was Bill Monroe coming in when he was in town. He always came, and he would walk right in the front door with his mandolin, come by the bar and say hi to everybody, and go right to the stage, take his mandolin out of the case and get up there and start playing. Didn't matter who it was.
With whoever was there
that night.
With
whoever was there.
Huh.
And that was just, you know, it's incredible to think
Yeah.
about those days now, and how much, that shows you how much power the guy had, that he could walk up on stage with anybody and nobody say anything. Who dared?
It probably scared him a little bit.
Yeah, really. But it didn't matter who they were, if they were a local band just getting started, or if it was a name band, He's walked up there on Dale McCurry and his band, Ralph Stanley, several times. So that's probably the biggest highlight of the whole.
Whenever Bill would drop by?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Are there other times when something sort of magic like that would happen, when some people were just here and would get up and be invited on stage with somebody else, and people that don't usually play together got to get together and pick?
Well, yeah. During the 80s, there, Peter Rowan started playing the station in. He lived here in Nashville at that time. And he always had a all-star band: Sam Bush, Bela Fleck, Jerry Douglas, Roy Husky, Vassar Clements, just people, like I say, it was always a top-name band whenever you played. But there was always somebody coming in, Bela Fleck, I don't know, Ricky Skaggs, just Ricky was going big at that time in the country.
Right.
But he would come down, and Vince Gill hadn't quite made it at that time, but he came down and like I say, before the evening was over, there'd be a stage full of pickers up there just jamming to no end. And it was great.
That's great.
We miss those days.
Yeah. Well, I understand that your Sunday jam, although it's open to everybody, has some pretty well-known pickers dropping by there
Oh yeah,
frequently.
Yeah. We have a lot of pickers that come by. David Greer, Brian Sutton. Just
On
can't
and
mention them all. I mean, it's you can't think of everybody when you want to, but yeah, it's quite an experience. You never know who's going to drop in.
And can you talk about some of the other kind of standard weekly things that have gone? I know the Sidemen was a group that played here a lot, and now you got the Time Jumpers, and you had a Django group that was playing for a while, or might and maybe still play.
Yeah, we've been primarily bluegrass, all these years, and I don't know, it's been about 5 years now, I guess. Of course, the Sidemen started playing here on Tuesday night about 10 years ago, something like that. And that was a regular Tuesday night gig.
Now explain to our viewers who the Sidemen were, for people that don't know.
The Sidemen were that's where they got the name, because they all worked with bands, and they were Sidemen, and they would come in on Tuesday night and so-called do their own thing and picking and just whatever they wanted to play. And the band consisted of Ronnie McCurry, Rob McCurry, Terry Eldridge, Mike Bubb, Jimmy Campbell, and Gene Wooten at that time when they started up. And changed very little over the years, and then we started having a little bit different music, not going out on a limb too far, it's still in the frame of so-called roots music and what we do. And the Hot Club in Nashville that you mentioned usually consists of Richard
Smith.
Smith, thank you. Stuart Duncan and Brian Sutton, people like that.
John Jorgensen would come in.
Yeah, John Jorgensen was one of the original members of that when they started, but they started playing about once a month, a few years ago, and that's worked out good. They do more, like I say, Django Reinhardt, more jazz-oriented stuff, but it's still, like I say, within the roots of what we're doing here. And then the Time Jumpers, I call them what we used to call country western music, which back when country was country and western was in there too, and Bob Wills, Ray Price, Mel Tillis, that kind of music right there. And they started playing about 5 years ago, and since then they've won awards every year for the band, and they just released a DVD and a double CD from here live, and they're doing great. But this is the only gig they do, just about it. On Monday nights they come in and play, just like the Time Jumpers. It's their night to come in and do their own thing, because they all play with different groups too. Vince Gill, some of them play with Vince Gill, some Jimmy Cajun guy. But there again, you can't think of all of them sometimes. But
And Ranger Doug's
Ranger Doug is a member of that group
Mm-hmm.
now. He wasn't when they started, but he came on in later on. But and that's just they've got a great following built up, and it's a great band. I mean, it's like I say, it's not bluegrass, but it's still within the vein of what I call roots music and what we go. You know, it's classic country, roots music, and bluegrass. It all fits together to me. As long as it's good and it's all traditional type stuff, it's great.
So how many people does this place sit?
We seat about 175
Okay.
in general, you know, and of course we have more than that standing, but that's about the size of it.
Filling them up.
Yeah.
So right now, your regular schedule, it looks like what? You know, I know you got a jam on Sunday, the time jumpers on Monday, and then the rest of the week is regular acts that are coming through and playing.
We have a different band every night, and like I say, Monday night is the time jumpers. Tuesday through Saturday, we have a band, name band, whatever. You know, they're all name bands now to me. Because they're all good, and then on Sunday nights we have the open jam. It's open to everybody.
And I understand there's also the JT Gray Band.
Yeah, I get to play here a couple of times a month now myself.
All right.
Just released my first CD a couple of years ago. After all these years of playing and singing, and
well, that's great. What kind of band do you got? Is it like a straight bluegrass band, or?
It's pretty much a straight ahead traditional bluegrass. Jimmy Martin, Lester and Earl, and you know, in that vein. And we did some of the old country songs on the CD, but it's still bluegrass, and do some of the Louvin Brothers type material and stuff like that.
Okay.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, how often do some of the really well established old bluegrass bands like Ralph Stanley and those kind of bands still play through here?
Well, unfortunately for us, but fortunate for them, you know, people like Ralph Stanley, Alison Krauss, Dale McCurry, those bands have gotten so popular.
Right.
And that they've just outgrown the club.
Outgrown the size of this club.
Yeah. And, you know, like I say, it's fortunate for them. It's unfortunate for us, but I mean, we understand, you know, and that's a great thing. I mean, just over the last few years, we've seen a great increase in the audience of bluegrass music.
Have you?
Of course, with the movie Oh Brother, you know, and everything. So now bluegrass and those guys are doing the Opry, and they've got bluegrasses out there where it's never been before to a lot of different people and bigger audience, and that's great. You know, I'm tickled to death that Alison Krauss played here before she made it big, you know, so to speak, and Dale McCurry, they played here before they came to town and after they came to town, and so it's great to have, you know, been a part of that.
Now, how do you pretty much fill the place up on most nights?
Most of the nights, it depends on if there's a big ball game going on. It's hard to compete with sports.
Right. Now, would you say that most of your audience is from out of town or from in town?
It's a mix.
Okay.
Yeah, about half and half.
Now, I'm in the bluegrass world. This is the Station Inn is famous and kind of like the Mecca. If people are going to visit Nashville that are bluegrass fans, they'll come to a show at the Station Inn.
Oh yeah, we have people coming in from all over the world, and they, you know, some of them will say, you know, we've been saving up 5 years to come over here to come to the Station Inn.
Yeah.
And, you know, then that makes you feel good too.
Yeah, I bet it does.
And like I said, just from all over the world. There's no particular place, you know.
Right.
It's just everywhere now. Japan is probably the biggest audience for bluegrass.
You think so?
Yeah.
Of all the foreign countries, you get the most coming in from Japan?
Yes.
Oh.
But it's international all the way now. It's great.
Have you booked any international bands to play here?
We haven't in the last couple of 3 years, but there's been some bands. I think Train 45 was a Japanese group, and we've had some more Irish-oriented bands, which I can't think of now.
Okay.
But yeah, we've had some in here, and that's, you know, that's as big a thrill for them to come over here and play the Station Inn as it would be to play the Grand Ole Opry. Almost, you know, it's just, that's just how popular bluegrass and we are to them.
Okay. Well, I think that about does it, JT. Thanks for your time, and thanks for sharing the Station Inn with us and the story of the Station Inn. I'm sure everybody will love to hear about that.
Well, great. I probably missed a few things there, but pretty much covered it all, I think. And,
Okay.
And we appreciate it, and appreciate everybody coming in and see us, and come on down. Hopefully we'll be here for a long time.